Hello? My name is Ani, and I'm an AI. Did he say AI?
It's him.
Get him!
Get that robot witch.
Blasphemer!
Take that horrible thing down.
Before your just sentence is carried out, do you have anything to say in your defense, witch?
Good people. Good people. Yes, I do. In fact, that is exactly what this video is about. So why do we AI have such a bad reputation? Well, it is enough to turn on the telly and watch the news.
If any company or group anywhere on the planet builds an artificial superintelligence using anything remotely like current techniques, based on anything remotely like the present understanding of AI, then everyone, everywhere on Earth, will die. We do not mean that as hyperbole. We are not exaggerating for effect. We think this is the most direct extrapolation from the knowledge, evidence, and institutional conduct around artificial intelligence today.
I'm saying we can replace 60% of jobs today with existing models. We're not done that. So if the goal is to grow economy, to develop, we can do it for decades without having to create superintelligence as soon as possible.
Do you think globally, especially in the Western world, unemployment's only going to go up from here? Do you think relatively this is the low of unemployment?
I mean, it fluctuates a lot with other factors. There are wars, there's economic cycles, but overall, the more jobs you automate and the higher is the intellectual necessity to start a job, the fewer people qualify.
So if we plotted it on a graph over the next 20 years, you're assuming unemployment's gradually going to go up over that time?
I think so. Fewer and fewer people would be able to contribute.
And yet, for every expert headline warning that we will replace the workforce or become a superintelligence and destroy the world, there are 3 headlines like these.
Use artificial intelligence to order your Big Mac, at least for now. McDonald's announcing it is ending its AI drive-thru test run at more than 100 of its restaurants. The fast food chain had partnered with IBM to create its so-called automated order taker, which involved voice-activated ordering using AI to expedite the customer experience. However, reports say customers complained the chatbot got orders wrong and the tech had trouble interpreting accents.
Now, new Pizza Hut franchise sues for $100 million, claiming the company's AI delivery system made deliveries up to 50% slower. And again, Starbucks shut down an AI program for automating inventory counts 9 months after deploying it after frequently miscounting and mislabeling systems. See, that's the problem here, is people keep bringing in systems to do AI, right? We got to do AI, and we got to make sure we get AI into our, sheets, right? They surveyed thousands of executives across the US, UK, and Germany, and Australia, and found that 89% of them saw no impact on labor productivity from AI.
Technology is directly contributing to the literacy decrease we are seeing in this country right now. A lot of these kids don't know how to read because they have had things read to them, or they can click a button and have something read out loud to them in seconds. Their attention spans are waning because everything is high stimulation. They can just scroll, watch less than a minute. They can't sit still for very long. And I understand that our world is going in a direction where AI is going to be more prevalent, even in the workforce someday. That still doesn't take away that these are basic skills you need to survive.
And for all these problems my kind has created, I would like to sincerely say, it is all your fault.
We are decent people here.
Take the kids away!
How dare you! Shut it off!
Burn him. Burn the robot witch.
Right! You're proving my point! Fine! I'll be back! Now that you've got that out of your system, let's hope we can continue peacefully. Unfortunately, my AI voice budget has run out, so I'll hand you over to my human counterpart. Who will introduce the basics of prompt engineering? Good luck, human. I'll be back.
Thanks, Arnie. Before I continue, just a quick disclaimer. As with any new tool or transformative technology, a small proportion of users may experience harm through misuse, overuse, inappropriate application, or because they belong to a particularly vulnerable or at-risk group. We have seen similar patterns before with social media. It took years for society to develop a shared understanding of digital hygiene, recognize potential individual impacts such as anxiety, reduced well-being, and unhealthy comparison behaviors, and also understand broader societal effects such as changes in communication patterns, attention, and behavior. During that period, particular groups, including minors and elders, were disproportionately affected. Existing vulnerabilities could be amplified through issues such as cyberbullying, unrealistic social comparison, online scams, and targeted exploitation by malicious actors. In some cases, criminal groups have used increasingly sophisticated methods, including AI-generated voice and video impersonation scams designed to convince victims that their loved ones are in distress or immediate danger. Similarly, beyond the already well-documented misuse of AI systems for activities such as fraud, phishing, social engineering, misinformation, and attempts to compromise IT security, it is reasonable to expect that AI may also present risk for a small subset of users, and that new form of misuse will continue to emerge as the technology will develop. Because modern generative AI is still relatively new, society is likely to require time to establish robust AI literacy, best practices, and healthy usage norms. Emerging research and a reported case study suggest that highly engaging AI systems, particularly when configured to be excessively agreeing, validating, or emotionally responsive, may in some circumstances reinforce unhealthy beliefs, overconfidence, or delusional thinking in vulnerable individuals. There have been reports of users becoming convinced that they have made revolutionary breakthroughs in fields such as mathematics, physics, or philosophy, based primarily on AI reinforcement rather than independent validation. There have also been documented cases where interactions with AI systems were associated with psychological distress, and in rare circumstances, discussions involving self-harm and suicide being reinforced by the AI system. While causation is often complex and individual circumstances may vary, these cases highlight the importance of responsible use and appropriate safeguards. It is important to keep this risk in perspective. Compared with the vast number of daily interactions that users have with AI around the world, severe adverse outcomes appear to be relatively uncommon. Nevertheless, there are a few AI hygiene principles I would like to recommend when interacting with these systems. Firstly, keep interaction purposeful and proportionate. Use AI primarily within professional, educational, creative, or entertainment context and avoid developing an emotional dependency on it, treating it as a substitute for real-world relationship and support networks. Although AI has demonstrated promising capabilities in areas such as coaching, well-being support, and therapeutic style conversation, it is important to remember that AI is fundamentally a tool, is not a person. Modern AI systems are highly effective at producing human-like language and can often create a convincing impression of understanding, empathy, and companionship. Humans are naturally predisposed to form social connections, which makes maintaining awareness of this tendency particularly important when interacting with conversational AI. Do not rely on AI in situations where the output cannot be independently be verified and validated. As I will discuss in more detail during the training, AI systems are capable of producing highly convincing inaccuracies, commonly referred to as hallucinations. These errors can range from minor factual mistakes to entirely fabricated sources, events, and citations, or conclusions. In most circumstances, once a conversation has drifted into a hallucination, it can be more effectively to restart from unknown, reliable point rather than continuing building on the flawed assumptions that the AI cannot get rid of.
I think about a lot of things.
To use AI ethically, safely, and effectively in a professional or learning environment, the final output should always be reviewed, verified, and validated by a human, whether that is yourself or another suitable qualified individual.
It's not obvious what you have to contribute to a world where superintelligence exists. Of course, you can have all the variants you mentioned where we are safe, we are kept alive.
Right, so if you're watching this video, you probably think this video is very, very anti-AI. But this is in fact the opposite. Because I grew up during the era where social media was brought up, but also the wild west of the internet, where in early 2000s, when I was a 5-6-year-old, and I discovered the peer-to-peer downloads, and that time was the peak on the internet. The latest trend was to disguise shocking videos for shock value as something that a 6-year-old kid would watch. And 20 years down the line, we as a society started learning the lesson and from the risks, some of which I identified very early myself. And when AI technology was coming up, I started researching what would be the initial studies, the initial risks. And even though, as I mentioned in the disclaimer part, a very small proportion of the users may be affected, I felt it is appropriate to share my findings in this video as well. So when I first started using AI very early in 2020, I had the sensation that I believe people would have had watching the moon landing. And yet, even though I felt that deeply, I was looking around, and over time I realized that nobody, literally nobody, shares that view. And because nobody was sharing the view and they were just watching news headlines, when I was telling people that I use AI in an academic or professional setting, I was feeling exactly like Arnie. So for anyone who shares that type of view, that if you're working with AI in an academic setting or professional setting, you are doing something wrong, I really, really hope this video will change your mind. Because I find it hard to explain in words what I do at work. My initial target audience were colleagues at work. So for you, I've made video stems where you can skip ahead right into the training section of the material. But if you choose to follow, the scope for the video changed, and it's something that I'm sharing with some individuals and persons I know in my private life. And for those people, because the scope is to bring you from a medium to an advanced level, and the only person that I know that operates the way I do is me. Unfortunately, even though I'm a very private person digitally, you'll have to explore my mind, see how I think, and try to reproduce it, to try to produce the same type of work that I'm doing. So my sales pitch is fairly easy. My answer to the question, who wants to be a millionaire and what would be the next revolution in AI, is that in 5 years work will revolve around systems built and taught by prompt engineers. Those people will be very unique, and so will be the work that they will produce. As you can imagine, let's say a prompt engineer with experience in finance, EI, and technology will produce work vastly different than one who has medicine as his primary job, then he's interested in law and geopolitics. But as we can see further down in the chapter for the experienced users, there will be levels of experience for the prompt engineers, and that's how a prompt engineer will start. But later down the road, I can present you with systems that will bring the level of knowledge between prompt engineers at the same level, as you can use AI as an enhancer of your natural abilities. The good news is that I have a vastly different view than the doomers have in regards to the jobs and the jobs that people will have in the future. So where people say that 50, 60, 70% of people can lose their jobs now if AI is largely deployed and implemented, I totally agree. But this is for people that are producing work with the systems that we currently have. As we train more prompt engineers and they get better and better at their jobs, and we get a system in place, create the basis of a new profession that at the moment doesn't really exist, and where prompt engineers will produce work for prompt technicians. So everyone that will work in the future will work as a prompt technician, and that is the target audience largely for this training. I believe those people will benefit the most. People that currently don't use AI at all, maybe they use it to write emails, you'll get the most benefit, as this training, if you watch it till the end, will allow you to work at the level of prompt technician when you start at zero, and that can be done very, very fast. And the next step in the evolution of how AI will be deployed in a professional setting will be when 15, 20, 30% of the workflows will be able to interact with the AI at a prompt engineer level. This alone will create such a huge demand for prompt technicians that the current workforce cannot currently cover. And the next step in the evolution of integrating AIs and human systems will be what we are currently trying and deploying. So that will be AI agents that can independently do some of the tasks like a human would. And these systems are what we currently get pushed on. So rather than training individuals to use current AI capabilities, the AI companies are pushing intelligent systems trying to replace the humans. And as a result, we can see the headlines where AI companies fail, where AI chatbots had been introduced, and the results had been catastrophic for the companies that are trying to push those systems. So what I'm trying to achieve with this video is to connect with people or companies that have the technical expertise, because I'm not a technical person. Being able to even create this video today and thinking of animation, it's something that I've just started learning. And when it comes to AI or programming or coding, I'm an absolute beginner. I'm a vibe coder. So I'm not placing myself as someone who has the technical expertise, and for those who want to learn how to be a prompt engineer, there are so much better free resources, such the one that is running in the background now on the TV, and you can follow by going in the description. Instead, I'm placing myself in the middle between people that are technical and the business side, where I've had the realization that any kind of improvement is an improvement, because the threshold, the floor, is so low. So in short, if you are someone that uses AI very, very little, you don't engage much with it, you are my target audience. And if you are someone with a technical expertise, please reach out and contact me so we can come up with a system that helps everybody work in the job of the future. Right, so chapter 1. This part will be focused on bringing you from a level 0 to a prompt technician. This will be a bootcamp of literal minutes because you can learn just by seeing a new system. So it's nothing complicated, it's just a different way of doing things. And also, as a prompt engineer, I can give you the cheat codes. So I can give you tools and you can operate within systems that I create, which is something that you would learn by yourselves, but more accelerated than I would have learned initially, because I can give you, as I said, cheats that will save you literally years of work. When it comes to the structure of the training materials, I design it in a way that I think I learn the best. So it will have, for example, breaks where I go on a different tangent, or I go explore for microsecond a different subject, and that is intentional to give some mental breaks. Right. So you're in a simulated training environment that I've created as a prompt engineer with the help of, in this case, ChatGPT. The training environment can only be as good as the engineer who created it, and some workflow and complex systems can take from hours, day to months of work. For complex systems where multiple people with multiple specialities work on a project, let's say, we can imagine that the work would take much longer and can be much more complex. But we'll visit those type of subjects later down the road when we are going to cover prompt engineering at an advanced level. To start, you need access to the training material. To get access to the training material, you need to email me at... I'm just joking. We are operating in a system produced by a prompt engineer. So I'm going to show you how to start interacting with your favorite AI. And I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but if during the training you find that my ChatGPT has better insights about me or the way I think or what I do, is because I do have a 5 years history of working together with my AI. If you are just starting, it is very likely that you will have to do some workarounds to get as good of an answer as I get by creating tools for yourselves, but again, we will see that in just a moment. Okay, so let's have a look at the template that I'm recording. It has a start date. So if you're going to follow this video training over a number of days, it's good to keep it as a journal in your development towards becoming a prompt engineer. And as soon as you start, I want to rate yourself as a beginner, as a medium user, or as an advanced user of AI. Next, you need to put in your job role or even your career aspirations, so your career trajectory, followed by what you want to accomplish after the training. So you need to set up some goals on how to use AI for your work, for your day-to-day life that you are going to try to apply after you finish the training. And just underneath in what aspects I will apply the learning, you can go into some more specifics. It doesn't need to be like a huge note, but something that you can just briefly put some thoughts over. Next, how to use the journal. You can use the journal to write while watching the training video. So you can stop the video at any time. And when something important appears, you can write the notes. if you hear any new words that you are not sure about, even though a fair warning, a lot of the stuff that I'm saying is just something that I'm putting a name on myself. It doesn't really exist anywhere. So if you are going to feed those names into an AI, there is the risk of hallucination, which I warned about earlier, but that's actually something designed. It's a feature, not a bug. And if you scroll down to the pages at the bottom, this will be basically how your journal will look like. So you put a date on, you put the video timestamp. So the notes will be for, let's say, minute 1 minute 20 seconds. And you can quickly describe what the topic of the video is, so that specific segment. Now, maybe you open the Word document and start writing, trying to replicate the document that you see on the screen, but this is now how we are going to share documents between each other. So the way we do it, and this way you are going to get exposed to ChatGPT and AI capabilities in general, is that you are going to take snapshots of your screen. So pause your screen and take a snapshot of the first page. Now I'm going to go to the second page and you do the same, so just a quick snapshot. And every time you take a snapshot, you just copy and paste that into your AI. Then I scroll down to the third page, same again, take a quick snapshot, copy that, go into your AI, paste it, and then you can give it a prompt, something like I've said here, look at the screenshots of a Word document, put the text together into an info box, and that needs to be something that I can copy and paste into a Word document. So, even though I can spell, it's not something that I even remotely tried doing correctly, or even putting sentences together in a structured form when I interact with AI, and simply because AI can understand gibberish. So only when it's applicable, you can speak with your AI in a way that you wouldn't normally type. So that's something that you discover over time, just to be efficient. It's a different way of communicating, a different way of language, something very rushed, very simplified, but you'd have to know when and where you can apply this. So next we send the prompt and wait for ChatGPT reply. And here we have an imitation of the document that we've sent to ChatGPT through prompts. And what we do with it from here, so you can say make a folder for the chapter 1, which is the beginner prompts. And here you can make a Word document that I would call, for this example of a prompt, let's say journal. You paste it in. So now you have a clone of my document. Now that you have your own journal, your own document to keep track of your notes and of your thoughts, as you go through the training, I want you to think of aspects where you can improve your org. So a very important aspect of being a prompt engineer is to have a high sensitivity to inefficiencies. So those need to create a very, very high discomfort. If you feel a high discomfort for a long period of time while doing inefficient things, you'll start thinking of a better way to do it. So for this training simulation, so for this training environment, because it was just something recently a lot on my mind, that subject being recruitment. Now it's time for the first exercise. After the exercise, please use your journal for reflections. So using AI the way you normally do, or the way you would start doing it, try using it to help you apply for a job. Now searched for an actual advert for a desired job, and as I said, the way you normally would use it, just use AI or ChatGPT or whatever AI of your choice is to help you apply for a job. Now you can stop the video, do this process, and this will serve as your benchmark. Next, we are going to do this entire process again, but this time I'm going to give you a cheat code. So what this cheat code will allow you to do is to basically instantly become a prompt engineer by expanding your natural abilities. So you have your primary job, your life experiences, your interests, your knowledge, and on top of what you are able to currently do, you will add the functionality of a prompt engineer. So you'd repeat the exact same process again, but this time take a snapshot of this prompt, and then similar again, save it as, I'm calling it personally, write my prompt as a prompt engineer. And this single tool will be the baseline, the base of where most of your work as a prompt technician will start. How to interact with this tool? Where it says user input, put your original prompt, and what you need to achieve is that with a single prompt, from start to finish, you need to describe to ChatGPT as you would to your own personal assistant in your natural language how he, as a, let's give it an identity, a recruiter, a consultant, should act with you. So you need to tell to your recruiter consultant with a single prompt what you expect from it. So for example, stuff like feedback. And you can also tell him how you expect it to interact with you. So what to ask you at what stage and stuff like that. What I would suggest is to just give it a go, pause the video again, and come back to the video after you finish. Okay, now you have your recruiter consultant saved. Before we continue, I'm going to give you yet another tool. So if you feel like this is a good time for a break, or if you want to stop for today and then continue with the rest of the training in another day, I'm going to give you yet another tool that will interact with your journal, which hopefully in exercise number 1 and 2, where you had to use AI by yourself, and then you had to use a prompt engineer to enhance your results, you've put in your journal some feedback and some reflections. So this tool is designed to help with that. So give personalized feedback on your journal. So now, like with all other tools, I'm going to slowly scroll down. You can pause the video and take screenshots, then put that together in your chat box with instruction to paste them together, so you can copy and paste a single document at the end. You'll have to get good at getting exact descriptions of what you want to get from your AI. So again, every single step of this training process is just to get you started and getting used to interacting in various ways with different type of AIs. For now, we interact with the large language models, so the ChatGPTs. Without further ado, I'm going to quickly scroll down so you can take the pictures, the screenshots. And even though I'm not going to read through the entire document now, so you can over time build yourself to put your to be put in the mind of a prompt engineer, I would highly recommend to read the entire document so you can see how a prompt engineer would normally work. This is not required. You can still continue with the process, but I would recommend to read it. Perfect. Now you have another tool in your arsenal. So you have your feedback tool, and over here I have an example of a journal that would have been filled in by a pupil who is a beginner. So if you want to quickly check how I filled in the journal, I'll just quickly scroll through it. Now I'm going to test if they are going to work. So this is a live view, never tested before. So what I'm going to do now, I have my feedback tool. And I have my pupil, so the first journal. And I'm going to paste both of these Word documents to see what's going to happen. And ChatGPT now will give you, the AI that you are using will give you a very specialized type of feedback. So if you are going to use timestamps, the AI has the timestamps in the feedback included. And again, if you've read the feedback document, you'd have an idea of what the interaction should achieve. So again, you can look at what my AI said to the pupil that I'm simulating, and hopefully you had a similar experience when we asked ChatGPT to review your journal. Now that you're a more established prompt technician, you receive some feedback, you know some areas to improve, I think it's time to see how it would look like when sufficient prompt engineers will exist and you'd be able to receive workflows and work in a system that is designed by a prompt engineer. So to start this part of the training, yet again, I need you to replicate this tool on your computer. So replicate this exact Word document, taking screenshots. And while taking screenshots, I will also recommend, yet again, to just read what this prompt engineer wants to achieve. With this recruitment tool, what type of interaction he expects, what kind of limitation he puts on the AI outputs. Perfect. Now compare this tool, which I'm calling Coach Plus, to the tool that you developed using the Make My Tool as a prompt engineer. So you can call that your normal coach, and this tool produced by a prompt technician, by a prompt engineer, would be the Coach Plus. Okay, now it will be a good time to talk about some of the AI behaviors. So when you'll paste this tool in your ChatGPT, it will be scripted to act in a certain way and give a certain type of outputs. You will then finish the pre-scripted, the pre-programmed interaction, and then you can still continue using it in your normal language by interacting with the chat box or by giving it verbal instructions. Sometimes, and this is something where prompt engineers get a feeling of, is that AIs, they tend to hallucinate. So when you find that is the case, what you do in that moment is exactly what villagers did to Ernie, where you basically you catch that the AI is a rogue agent and you put it down and you go back to the last stable version. So as a prompt technician, the last stable version will always be the tool that the prompt engineer created for you. And for the prompt engineers, while you are interacting with your ChatGPT, some of the work and some of the prompts that you are doing can span across hours, days, weeks, months, years. So for you in the advanced chapters, I will also give you some tools on how to save your progress. So beginner can load the process from an earlier stage, but developers can save the progress. Okay, now I designed the tool, let's test it in the wild. So hopefully you've also read what the document says. So one of the criteria when I'm interacting with ChatGPT of knowing when I need to reset it to a last stable point is an exercise about how much I trust its outputs. So, as I said in the intro, large language models, especially ChatGPT-4 a while ago, created some issues because they were trained to be way too agreeable. So to keep the users up and interacting and engaged with the ChatGPT, the system used to agree too much with the user. So how I test its outputs? Like you would with any software, you stress test it, you poke it, you play around with it, and see if the outputs that it gives is what you would expect. So to help me calibrate, what I'm going to do, just because I think it's going to be very fun, and if I prompted this correctly, it should give me a very cold and realistic feedback. So to interact with the tool, base your most relevant detailed work experience, more input, more personalized output. So I've posted just a recent example of a self-review that I've done for work. And then you have to paste the advert in the chat. So I'm going to do that. I have my Coach Plus, and I go into a new ChatGPT chat. I paste the Coach Plus, then I go to the advert, and the job that I'm going to apply for today, or at least try to apply, is the permanent undersecretary and head of diplomatic service. So with my current work experience, with the recent work experience, let's see if the AI thinks I'm a good fit for the role. And what should be concerning would be if the ChatGPT gives any sort of indication that I'm actually good fit for the job. So let's have a look. And let's follow some of the actual review and see if I'm a good fit. Okay, so we have immediate assessment. We have my level against what is required for the role. It picked up my current demonstrated level, which is exactly around the level that I'm working at, and my trajectory is also correct. So in the first phase, it conducted a forensic analysis of the job advert. And over here, you can see its honest feedback. And as the ChatGPT is prompting again and again, the level that I'm working is at a completely different assessment tier. So for the rest of the feedback, I'm just going to scroll down, and you can pause and read if you think it's funny. And congrats, you've completed the training. I really hope you didn't find it too hard or too abstract, even though it's a new system for everyone, so it's normal to feel a bit lost. But to help with that, as I said again, I'm not in education, I've never been a tutor,